Good morning, class. We're about to get into a very important phase of our architectural design learning, and that is the design process. The design process is a method or a process that you go through, in order to make sure that you hit all of the different areas appropriately and efficiently. So let's get started on this design process. First, you need to memorize this stuff right here. You need to memorize the different steps, step 1 through step 6. Okay, so step 1 is define the problem. Step 2 is collect information. Step 3 is brainstorm and analyze ideas. Step 4 is develop solutions and, build a model. Step 5 is present your ideas to others for feedback. Step 6 is improve your design. Now, your objective in this slide probably should have been before the previous slide, but your objectives here for this presentation is to memorize the key steps of the design process, understand what each step consists of, apply every step in the development of an architectural project, and understand that this design process also defines what's referred to as the program. You'll hear a lot of people in the architectural design industry talking about the program. What is the program? Well, the program is basically the design process. Okay, so define the problem. What do we do here is not in the negative sense as some may be accustomed to, but in the positive sense, as in there is a challenge that I must take on, or a problem for which I will find a solution. In the architectural sense of problem solving, we want to identify the client's needs and wants, and yes, that should be an apostrophe S there, the location, and the constraints. Memorize these questions, but not the bullets under them. Okay, so you can write down whatever you want to, or try to memorize whatever you want to here, but all you really need to do is remember what questions to ask yourself as you're trying to define the problem, such as what stage of life are they in, and they meaning clients. And the other question, what is their lifestyle? Again, the clients. What is the location of the project, and what are the constraints? Okay, stage of life has to do with do the people who are going to be occupying the building, the home, are they going to have young children, teenage children, college children, no children, planning to have children, or an empty nest? And that will help you design a whole lot of stuff. Whether especially as far as like a backyard for the young children. Not so important to have a backyard for teenage or college children. Room sizes might be important when it comes to teenage and college children. Room sizes can vary for young children. Of course, no children. Of course, you'll still want to put multiple rooms because the market value of a home with less than 3 rooms is just not very good. So I would always at least go with 3 rooms in any home. But if they have no children, of course, you probably want to, or again, I'm sorry, I meant to go with empty nest. Empty nest or no children, actually. You'll want to take those secondary rooms and probably not put so much emphasis on those, but put more emphasis on like the living area and the master bedroom and the master bathroom, which typically you're going to focus on those areas anyway. But just thinking about that might change the way that you design other things in the house, the secondary rooms, or how big, the size of the yard. Is there a large covered patio or not? Things like that. The second question, what is their lifestyle? So are they into nature, sports, family? Are they single? Do they have hobbies? Are they artists? Are they creators of some type? So look at their lifestyle, interview your client, carefully, start up a nice, friendly conversation, get to know them, let them get to know you, and find out what it is that they're into. And that will help you, especially with custom homes. That will help you a great deal. Not that you would necessarily go through that on another type of home we're going to talk about and what we're going to actually design coming up. And that's called a, what is it called? I'll think of it in a minute. So we'll go to the next question. What is the location? So is it a rural location, farm, lakeside, woodlands? What is it? Is it an urban environment? Building? What kind of building types are there in that environment? Well, and what are the building styles? Pretty much the same with suburban. If you're building a house in a suburban area, of course, you'll want to know whether it's a planned or an unplanned neighborhood. Planned means they're really strict about, the houses that can be built there, the way that those houses can look, the way they're oriented, and things of that nature. And of course, if it's not a planned neighborhood, maybe it's unplanned, you might want to look at the subdivision itself and kind of get some ideas from the style of houses that already exist. Not that you have to follow those by any means. When it's an unplanned subdivision, you can build anything you want, whatever your client wants. Typically, an unplanned subdivision will have much larger yards than a planned subdivision. So having the houses not really follow the same theme is okay in in an unplanned subdivision. But in a planned subdivision, all the houses are pretty much going to adhere to a theme. They're not going to all look exactly alike, but there's going to be a common theme going on there. The constraints question is, local, state, federal codes. Land and development restrictions, and that could also fall under local codes as well. Environmental restrictions having to do with, what are some of the things that need to be taken care of before you start building. That's going to affect the price, of course. And, of course, also could affect, the size of house you can build, the height of the house, or anything of that nature. How many trees you can remove or can't remove. Is there a river nearby? Anything like that would, any kind of environmental impact that your home that you're planning to build there could have. Is there a homeowners association? Homeowners associations will sometimes impose restrictions on the types of houses, size of houses, height of houses, even sometimes the style of house that can be built. And of course, last but not least, the client income, which that's very important pretty much under any of those questions, is client income, because you can only build and only design what they can afford. And of course, we will be talking about that at a later date and time. Step 2 is to collect information. Based on the definition of the problem, you will gather more detailed information from the client. Other information must be gathered concerning the constraints of the project, such as, again, building codes. We need to look at the electrical source, the water source, wastewater disposal sources, household waste disposal, and those both could mean different things. Household waste disposal, do they have a garbage collection route, or will the homeowner have to take their own garbage to the garbage dump? Wastewater disposal, is local sewer available, or are we going to have to build a septic system on the property? Electrical source and water source are also very important. Of course, are you going to be able to get electricity to the area? And same with water. With water, sometimes or a lot of times you can actually build or drill a well and get water from the ground. If a local water source is available from the city or the state, or well, it wouldn't be the state, maybe the county, then you would probably want to hook up to that as a water source. You'll also want to look at access roads. How are you going to get to this place? You want to do title research, making sure that this is done through the county, making sure that nobody else has any rights to this property. Make sure that whoever is wanting to build on it has the permission to actually build on it, or has the rights to actually build on it. And then, of course, survey data. So that'll have to be gathered. they'll have to do a survey and mark off the distances of, basically looking from the sky downwards onto the property. What is the property shaped like? What are its boundaries? And what are the distances of those boundaries? Step 3, brainstorm and analyze. At this stage, you'll take all the information you have gathered and will decide how you will address the client's needs and desires while adhering to constraints. How you will produce options for your design, or actually producing those options. You will design several concepts before presenting them to your client. Some of the methods for doing that is using a bubble diagram, which is a video that you would watch before you viewed the slideshow, and or preliminary sketches. You'll have some sketches going on, different ideas of different things you could do on that particular property, and basically give your client some options. Develop solutions. So take your ideas to the computer and begin making them permanent. You'll want to build some models. Also, we may not get into building models this year. We'll definitely get into building models next year. Produce multiple options. Again, options are important. So when you're in this develop solutions section, you're pretty much designing an entire house or structure, and you might design several copies of it with different variations. Presentation and feedback. This is where you present your plan to your client, and you want to ask yourself these questions when you prepare for the presentation. Should have put question marks after those bullets, but do I have enough options? Am I prepared to persuade my client? Am I prepared to inform my client? Are my models and drawings complete and professional? What is my backup plan in case they don't like anything that I've put together for them? Am I prepared to present myself let me try that again. Am I prepared to present myself in and maintain a professional demeanor throughout the negotiations? Professionalism is of utmost importance, and you're selling yourself and you're selling your product here to your client. And of course, the client is pretty much always right. I mean, there are some things that can't be done that the client might want to have done, but that's where you would need to work on the persuasion portion of that preparation. Step 6 is improve your design. So after you meet with your client with all of your preliminary designs, you'll typically come to almost a decision, and you'll start putting that together. And then, of course, once you put that together, you'll go through presentation again, and you'll sit down with the client probably 2 or 3 more times, and you'll make corrections. And you'll do things over. Sometimes you'll do the entire plan over again. But always improve your plan, and make sure everything is going through the client, so they know what's going on, you know what's going on, and you're actually producing something that they want and that they're going to enjoy. Okay.